Hey, everybody, it's the Glockenfleckens. We are bringing our live show, Wife and Death, to Boston. We're coming to the Huntington Theater September 14th, just right around the corner. We cannot wait, especially because we're coming to Boston before it starts snowing.
Theoretically, yes.
Hopefully, it's going to be great. It's going to be great weather. Come on out. We can't wait to see you. Get tickets now, glockenflecken.com/live. We'll see you there.
Knock, knock. Hi.
Hello and welcome to Knock Knock Eye with me, your host, Dr. Glockenflecken, your one-stop shop for all things eyeball related. And do I have a whopper of an episode for you? People still say that, whopper of an episode. That makes me sound, I feel like that's something like an old guy would say. I just got done with call. Actually, I probably am jinxing myself because I'm technically not done with call. I have one more night of call. I am on my final night of call. I do a Wednesday to Wednesday schedule, split it with my partners. Now, I'm very fortunate that in my practice, which is a community practice, community-based practice, I should say, we're very large, physician owned, but we have like 40 MDs or something. So, and then we split all of the Portland metro area into two call groups, right? There's an East Portland and there's a West Portland. I am in the East Portland call group, and we have about 20 of us. And so that amounts to roughly like 2 to 3 weeks of call per year. So again, before I jump into how my call went, I just want to set the groundwork by telling you I have no right to complain about anything. Yet I will still complain. It happens. We all have the right to complain from time to time. But I try not to lose perspective. And what helps me not lose perspective is hearing other residents, like seeing content. If I'm scrolling on TikTok and I see somebody talking about how terrible their call is, and it's sort of like a general surgery resident or an internal medicine resident, they did like a 24-hour or something. I'm like, oh, it could be worse. It could be worse. So I appreciate all of you keeping keeping things in perspective for me. But that being said, it was a pretty bad call week for me. By private practice ophthalmology standards, it was a fairly rough. And there's a couple reasons for that. But first of all, I cover 3 different hospitals. They're all community hospitals, level 2 or below trauma centers. But also, really the busiest part of my call in private practice is taking call for our patients, because with 20 doctors across about 8 practice locations, that's a lot of phone calls that can come in. Now, sometimes it is eerily silent. Like for a whole week, I may not get anything. And I think part of that is because if it's really cold outside, in the winter in particular, it gets, I hate to use the word quiet, but I will. I'm totally jinxing my final night of call just talking about this. But in the winter, when it's cold and rainy, especially in Portland, very rainy, I think people don't call sometimes because they don't want to be told by me to like go in. They don't want to actually come into the office or be told they have to go to the emergency department for this thing. So they will wait. They will wait. They're more likely to wait during business hours, until business hours, to call and get advice. That doesn't happen so much in the summer. Everybody's out. It's light till like 10 o'clock at night. I don't know. People are just, because it gets hot in the summer in Portland. And so people are a little bit more like just angry about the heat, but also just fired up about summer. Summer's great. They're out and about. They're doing things. And so you get more calls. That's the bottom line. You get more calls in the summer. And what I learned is that having a Friday holiday. So Friday was July 3rd, and all of our offices were closed. Having a Friday holiday versus a Monday holiday. So if like July 4th was on a Sunday instead of a Saturday, all of our offices would have been closed on Monday. Much worse for me personally, having a Friday holiday versus a Monday holiday. Because Friday from like 8 to 10 a.m., I got like 20 straight like phone calls from people. And again, like I shouldn't complain. These are people but a lot of them were like, oh, I didn't know you guys didn't have clinics open today. So it's kind of our fault. Like we should have probably said something, communicated a little bit better about the fact that we were going to be closed on Friday. So I bore the brunt of it, which in hindsight, I'm happy to do. At the moment, I was a bit frustrated, but that's okay. That's taking call. That's what I signed up for. And again, with 3 maximum weeks of call, I really can't complain with a straight face. So how was my call? How was 4th of July call? I want to congratulate the city of Portland, at least my half of it. Nobody blew their faces off. There were no blown up faces. There were no open globes. There were no eyelid lacerations. There were no thermal injuries, no explosive ruptures. What else? There was no sclopetaria, which is when debris travels so quickly through tissue that it causes shockwave damage within the eye. I did see a retinal detachment, but it was not firework related. And so you all did a good job. And I was proud of my fellow Portlanders. And so what made it busy was just like all the extra stuff. It's just a very busy call otherwise. But I do have a few patients that I can talk about. And I did count up how many pages I got over the course of the weekend from Friday to Monday. And I got 38 pages, which to a resident or intern, that might not sound like a lot. To a private practice ophthalmologist, I was in hell. It was trying for me, because I'm out of practice. I don't do this enough, being on call to be like to feel like it's no big deal. So it was just very busy. Um, and one more thing about 4th of July, I've been like talking about last couple episodes about how you know like I don't people might think I'm like really down on fireworks, like they should be banned. We should never be allowed to do fireworks. I think the average person should be banned from I think you should have a special license, honestly, to shoot off fireworks. Like it should be done by a municipal government, like or a specific company, a contractor, whatever. Like you should be able to show some kind of certification for firework safety because they are explosives, right? Now there are a lot of people, and I've been seeing comments or content on social media. This happens every year where people are talking about how they should be outright banned. They're bad. Fireworks are bad for the environment. They scare dogs. They scare veterans. I think there's a lot of people out there that for like one day a year, they suddenly care about like the health of veterans and the elderly, but not really much of a peep about healthcare like throughout the year. So I don't know how much stock I put into their opinions about this type of thing, but nevertheless, they're like some very, very vocal people, and use these things to promote their cause of like, oh, it's immoral. It's immoral. I heard that a lot. It's immoral to shoot off fireworks. I am not going that far. Like that, I don't agree with that. It's it is a tradition. It's a tradition. 4th of July, but I have fond memories going different places as a kid with my friends, with my family, watching a fireworks show, watching fireworks for the first time with my kids and seeing their faces just light up in just like in awe of these giant colorful explosions in the sky. And I wouldn't want to take that away from people. Uh I want to take it away from like individuals who are like, shooting off things they don't know enough about and hurting themselves. That's why I think it should be regulated, but not outright banned. I mean, I think that it's incumbent upon people, certainly adults who know they have trouble with firework with loud noises. whether that's a psychiatric disorder or otherwise. Like, there are steps you can take to protect yourself on 4th of July without doing like an outright ban and preventing anybody from being able to see or experience fireworks. Like, right? Does that make sense? Like noise canceling headphones. Like, if you're in your house and you put on noise canceling headphones, you will not hear fireworks. Dogs, I sympathize with. I'm a dog owner. I love dogs, and I get it. Like, my dogs are not particularly afraid of fireworks, but I saw a lot of content about that as well. And I think there's medication, there's steps you can take. Anyway, it's just, this happens with certain things that don't come up very often. It's like, this this is a problem for a very specific subset of people, like a very small subset of people in the grand scheme of things. And so we should not allow that to happen. But I don't know. It's not causing like physical harm. I don't know. I it kind of irritates me to see that kind of content, and I get it. I understand the reservations about, you can not like fireworks. That's fine. But like, I think it comes to a certain point where you got to let people, like, the vast majority live their life and experience their traditions, and just don't start forest fires and don't hurt each other, and know what you're doing. That's the biggest thing. All right. Um, all right, so let's talk about a couple of patients I did see over of the it was a particularly bad week for inpatient consults. I had more inpatient consults than I have had in like 5 years. And I'll give you a couple. Um, so well, first, this one's not an inpatient consult, but I saw, this was an interesting patient that had cataract surgery the day before. And so they had cataract surgery on an afternoon, and the surgery did not go as planned. So what happened was, the surgeon, they started, this is my partner, who's a fantastic surgeon, started the surgery and realized that the lens inside the eye, the cataract, was unstable. It was, there was zonule loss. So if you remember your eye anatomy, which I'm sure you all do, the cataract, the lens that you're born with, is held in place in the middle of the eye by these strings called zonules. They're just made of some kind of collagen protein, but they look like really thin spaghetti strings that just suspend this lens into place. And those those strings, they attach to the edge of the lens, and then the other end of it's attached to the ciliary body. So as the ciliary body contracts, the muscle contracts whenever you focus your eyes, whenever you like try to focus on something up close, you're contracting that ciliary muscle that's in there, which causes the lens, which causes a different amount of tension to be placed on those strings, those zonules, which changes the shape of your lens, which causes your focal point to change because you're changing the shape of your lens. And so that's the purpose of these zonules. But for a hundreds of different reasons, the zonules can just be weak, not work well. Most of the time, it's trauma or a disease like pseudoexfoliation, which is a really common disease that causes damage to those zonules. It can become weak. And that is a major problem. I've talked about that on this podcast. Major problem when you're trying to do cataract surgery, because you have to have a nice, stable lens to be able to operate on it. If you're trying to break up the lens into a bunch of different pieces and chop it up and suck it out, and the lens is moving on you every time you try to touch it because it's loose, because those zonules don't work, you're going to have a really bad time. Worst case scenario is that lens will actually, enough of those zonules will break that the lens, instead of being suspended up, will actually start to fall into the back of the eye, into the vitreous cavity, a place that I dare not go. That's the venue that's the under the purview of my my retina colleagues. That's where they go. I don't go there. So this patient had 6 clock hours. Think of the lens in terms of a clock. 6 clock hours of zonule laxity is what we call it. And when you have that much zonule laxity, the lens is unstable. So this surgeon got in there, realized, oh, this lens has almost no stability whatsoever. And so she actually aborted the procedure, which is smart. Because if you have that much zonule laxity, sometimes it's easier just to send the patient to a retina specialist and have them remove the lens from the other side. Because then they can just do the retina. If it falls, no big deal. They can just take care of it right there. And then you do special techniques to suture a new lens in its place down the road. So it's a staged, instead of one cataract surgery, it's a staged cataract surgery, but it's more controlled and under safer conditions. So that was the idea with this patient, which was very smart. But sometimes, anytime you go inside the eye for cataract surgery, you use these gels called viscoelastic materials. It's basically a gel, like a gel that you put in the eye that forms the space. So it keeps the eye inflated. And sometimes that jelly, that viscoelastic, can plug up the drainage system inside the eye and cause a pressure spike. So I get a call about 1 a.m. from a patient and they said, it was a patient's family member. The patient had severe eye pain and had a lot of nausea and vomiting. And I looked at the chart, saw surgery this afternoon. It was like maybe 8 hours earlier, the patient had surgery. I already knew what this is immediately because we run into this so many times. So then I have the decision to make. Okay, fortunately, the surgeon had given that patient oral Diamox to go home with and instructed to take this pill, what Diamox does, oral Diamox, it actually dehydrates the vitreous. So it removes fluid from the back of the eye, which will just create more space and lower the eye pressure. So it's just a way of lowering the eye pressure. It's a very strong way of doing it because you're doing it orally with a diuretic. So this patient had these pills, but because of the nausea and vomiting, was unable to swallow a pill. So I was in this situation where, okay, it's 1 a.m. I have clinic the next day. And so I'm like, okay, well, so here are my options. Either I just send this patient directly to the emergency department where they can get IV Diamox, which will help decrease the pressure in the eye, which will help allow the patient to which will resolve the nausea and vomiting, which will allow the patient to take the pill like next time it's due to keep the eye pressure down. Because the eye pressure spike after for cataract surgery with these viscoelastic materials lasts about 72 hours. You just got to get them through those first 3 days. So I could do that. I could send the patient, because the patient can't swallow, I can send them to the emergency department and it would work. That would be an okay way to do it, especially because it's 1:00 in the morning. The downsides of that is it would take a lot of time. The patient would probably be there all night. And also incur increased cost. I thought about that. Like, okay, I'm signing this patient up for, I don't know what their insurance situation is, but chances are they'd get a big bill from doing that. Or do I bring the patient to the clinic? Granted, it's 1:00 in the morning. Come to the clinic. From there, I can manually press on one of the incisions on the eye, what we call burping the wound. And if I press on the incision, some fluid will come out, which will manually decrease the pressure in the eye. Decrease the nausea after that. Allow the patient to take a pill. All is good. Go home. See you in clinic the next day. The downside of doing that is, number one, will I safely be able to press on that wound? Especially if there's high pressure. If I press on the wound, could some of the iris pop out of the wound? That would be bad. Would some vitreous pop out of the wound? So it's kind of a gamble until I actually go and have the patient come to clinic, see the situation, see what the eye looks like. Can I safely do this? Also, it's 1:00 in the morning. Now, granted, I am a large man. I am 6'4". If I was a woman, would I feel comfortable telling a patient, meet me at this dark clinic where it's just you and me, patient, and it's in the middle of the night? Like, do you feel safe doing that? A lot of people wouldn't feel safe doing that. I felt comfortable doing that. So anyway, that's what I did. I brought the patient to clinic, burped the wound, able to swallow the pill. All was right. We were done within about 45 minutes, as opposed to probably all night is what it would have taken in the emergency department, just because of the nature of an emergency department, right? They've got 100 other patients to take care of. I just had this one thing. So anyway, and the patient did okay. We were able to keep the eye pressure down, which is very important because high pressure causes damage to the optic nerve, which is what glaucoma is. Glaucoma is damage to the optic nerve that leads to permanent vision loss. So that's what we were trying to avoid in that situation. So that was my only middle of the night extravaganza that I got to do. Fortunately, that was very fortunate. Usually it's only typically trauma or post-op issues like this that will bring me, into the emergency department, like right, no matter what time it is in the middle of the night. So that was it. So let's take a break, and I'll have a couple of inpatient consult things to talk about. We are very excited to tell you about a healthcare news podcast that just came out. It's called Medlines.
See what we did there? Medlines, headlines.
That's good. That's good, right? It's a weekly wrap-up of everything in our field, from breakthrough discoveries to research, politics, pop culture.
Yeah, I think the best way to think of it is kind of like NPR's Up First podcast, but for all things healthcare.
And we're excited to be a part of the team behind it, along with our partners at Human Content and our inaugural sponsor, the New England Journal of Medicine.
Yeah, we wanted there to be a podcast out there for busy healthcare professionals to stay informed on the go without taking a big chunk out of your day.
It's the episode's like 15 minutes.
Yeah, or less.
That's like the length of a cataract surgery.
Exactly.
Episodes of Medlines are out now wherever you get your podcasts, with new episodes out every Friday. Check it out. Hey, Krista, remember how you love eyelid mites now?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Well, there's a lot of confusion out there. I want to clear something up.
Okay.
All right. People think they can get eyelid mites from dogs and cats.
Can they?
No. These particular Demodex mites are specific to humans.
Okay.
So spread from dogs and cats is not expected. That's a myth.
Can't get them from cuddling our poodle.
No. Demodex mites that cause blepharitis live on humans. Most adults already have them. They just usually don't cause problems. It's when they overgrow that they can lead to itchy, red, irritated eyelids. Those little collarettes.
Mm-hmm. The crusties at the base of the eyelashes.
Right.
And the good news is there's a prescription eye drop available for Demodex blepharitis.
That is great news. To learn more about eyelid health and Demodex blepharitis, visit miteslovelids.com. Again, that's miteslovelids.com to learn more. This ad is brought to you by Tarsus Pharmaceuticals. Okay, so 2 inpatient consults I got over the past week. One was a very nice hospitalist that reached out because the patient with sepsis, also who was recovering from that, but started developing severe headaches. They were worried about optic disc swelling. And what I've learned is that nobody really knows how to reliably look at the optic nerve except for ophthalmologists. And that's not a criticism of any other doctor. It's just the nature of medical training. Like, I learned how to look at an optic nerve examining 200 dilated eyes, not every day. I'd say 40. Well, most patients have 2 eyes. 80 dilated eyes every day using several different pieces of equipment. You're going to learn pretty quick how to examine an optic nerve in that situation. It still took like a couple weeks to really get good at it. Other types of doctors don't have that luxury, don't have that equipment, don't have access to dilating drops, don't do any of that. They got other things to do with their time. So I learned very early in my career not to begrudge people for basically just consulting me because somebody needs to come look at an optic nerve. That's what I do. Someone needs help. I'm going to come and do it. All right, that's an easy thing to do. You show up, ask the patient a couple questions, put some drops in, take a look with the thing. Honestly, I was in and out in like 30 minutes. Not a big deal. Optic nerves look great, by the way. Optic nerves look great. The other inpatient consult was an interesting thing that does come up from time to time. And that is a patient in the ICU that was diagnosed with candidemia. So had a blood culture done that showed that there was candida in the blood culture. And this is a subject that is where ophthalmologists and infectious disease specialists diverge a bit. The 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 issue of should a patient with asymptomatic candidemia, and asymptomatic from an eye perspective. So a patient was diagnosed with candida, with fungus in their blood. Do they need a screening dilated exam within like the first week of being diagnosed, like right there in the hospital? This is a debate. And as you can imagine, the infectious disease specialists, they err on the side of yes. The ophthalmologists, who are mortally terrified of going into the hospital and try to avoid it at all costs, they say no. So I'll break this down a little bit more. So the IDSA, the Infectious Disease Society of America, so their official recommendations, which were published in 2016, they say that all non-neutropenic patients with candidemia should receive a dilated eye exam within the first week after diagnosis. Um, and that neutropenic patient should have the exam after neutrophil recovery because inflammatory signs may be absent during neutropenia. So the patient if they're neutropenic, they may not be mounting any kind of inflammatory reaction to even be able to diagnose that there is ocular candidiasis, which is what we're trying to establish. Because if you have fungus that's in the eye, it could be in the brain, and also you need to treat the eye to try to protect the vision. So that's the rationale for this, from the infectious disease standpoint. Like we're trying to diagnose and make sure we adequately treat any kind of retinitis, chorioretinitis, endophthalmitis, um, and potentially any other, you know, involvement of fungus that can lead to longer systemic therapy. Basically, the idea is that it could change what they do with their antifungal medications. So their recommendations, the IDSA, which is their kind of governing body that gives out recommendations, is that yep, if they're non-neutropenic and they have this diagnosis, they should get a dilated exam. The American Academy of Ophthalmology says something different. They recommend against routine screening in asymptomatic candidemic patients. Instead, ophthalmology side, they recommend that an ophthalmology consult for this be placed if the patient is having symptoms or there's something abnormal on their vision exam, like a cursory vision exam, or if the patient's unable to report symptoms and there is enough of a clinical concern for it. I mean, I would say that having fungus in your blood is a big enough clinical concern. Basically, you just have a suspicion that there is eye involvement. That's when ophthalmology should be consulted. And as opposed to a blanket statement, oh, diagnosis of candidemia, we got to get ophthalmology here to take a look. I understand both sides, and I do err more on the side of the ophthalmologist. And I swear it's not because I don't want to come into the hospital to see patients. That's not it. But I understand infectious diseases point of view. The but the I think the what it comes down for me is the infectious disease approach. I'm not aware of a lot of literature that supports that from an eye prognosis, vision prognosis standpoint. Now, granted, this is not a really hugely common, like it's an incredibly rare. That's the other thing that goes into this. Endophthalmitis, Candida endophthalmitis is extraordinarily rare. So you're asking for a a dilated exam on every patient with candidemia, knowing that there is it's like a 1 in a million chance that you're actually going to see something in the eye. How many people do you have to examine in order to actually find an asymptomatic person that actually has endophthalmitis? Counterpoint, it's super easy to do a dilated exam. So I understand the infectious disease point of view as well. Like, can we just do an exam? Can we just do it? But there's not a lot of evidence to support that. So this is why there's a debate between infectious disease and ophthalmology. Now, fortunately, this doesn't come up enough to where it's like a cardiology nephrology battle, right? We're always going back and forth with each other on most patients, because most patients have that's what internal medicine is. It's like some combination of giving fluid and taking fluid away. I'm being very I'm reducing all of infectious disease in a bit of a derogatory way. So I'm being facetious. But it is I've made this joke a lot. Infectious disease is what do you is managing fluids. There's so much of it is managing fluids. But this doesn't come up enough with ophthalmology and infectious disease that we butt heads and have this long-standing hostility and rivalry. But it's talked about from time to time. So here I'll wrap this up and then we'll wrap up Knock Knock Eye. Here's the practical approach for 2026 for right now, how you would deal with this. This is what I would recommend. Okay. If the patient has candidemia and they have vision symptoms, floaters, their vision's blurrier than it normally is, having eye pain, any of those things, flashes of light, then yes, an ophthalmologist should be consulted. 100%. Because they're having symptoms. It could be Candida endophthalmitis. If the patient has candidemia and they are intubated, they are delirious, they are unable to report symptoms for whatever reason, mental status, I think it's fair to consult ophthalmology. Absolutely. If the patient obviously has proven ocular candidiasis, ophthalmology should be co-managing that patient with infectious disease. We got to work together on that. But for an asymptomatic and reliable patient who can talk about their symptoms, who knows whether or not they're having vision problems, I don't think there's enough of an indication and risk of actual Candida endophthalmitis to warrant ophthalmology consults. That being said, I have yet to actually decline or refuse to consult on an inpatient in that situation. So, and I generally we have so much confrontation already in medicine, and it's not a big deal for me being on call 2 to 3 weeks per year for me to say, no, I'm not going to do this. Listen, let's look at the literature. No, I'm just going to go and I'm going to do my exam and I'll put everyone's mind at ease. And guess what? For inpatient consult, I don't bill those. I do the consult and I talk to the doctor and I'll write my little note, but it's not the hospital gives us a stipend to cover call. That's enough. I do inpatient consults maybe 5 a year. That's what we're talking about in the private practice world. And so it's if it helps the clinical care team feel better about the status for the patient and it makes the patient feel better, whatever, I'll do it. I'll do it. But from a purely academic standpoint, I don't think it's necessary for an asymptomatic, reliable patient who can give you a history to need an ophthalmology exam, even though they might have candidiasis. Candidemia. Candidiasis, candidemia, same thing. I don't know. Saying same thing will probably piss off an infectious. I'm sure there's a difference. I just don't know it. That's it for Knock Knock Eye. Thank you all for listening. I'm your host, Dr. Glockenflecken. Thanks to my executive producers, Aaron Corney, Rob Goldman, and Shanti Brook. Editor and engineer, Jason Perdizo. Our music is by Omer Ben Zvi. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Did I get something wrong today? Please let me know. Our YouTube channel is at Glockenfleckens. All right. We we check on those. We look at those comments. It's a manageable comment section. I like hearing from you guys. Please give me your thoughts on today's episode. Do you have very strong opinions about fireworks? I would love to hear them. And we also have a Patreon, by the way. Check that out. Go to glaucopleca.com to learn more. But also, we have a couple live shows coming up. You guys should know about this. So those of you who are in Boston, or we're going back to my alma mater, both of our alma maters. Kristen did grad school at Dartmouth. I went to med school. We're going back to Dartmouth, the Lebanon Opera House. We're doing 2 shows, back-to-back days. glaucopleca.com. You can find out more. Find the link for tickets there. We're going there in September. I don't have the date offhand, so I don't want to tell you the wrong date, but it's in September. Boston and Lebanon Opera House in New Hampshire. We're so excited. We're going to get a bunch of med students there, a bunch of the Dartmouth folks at the Dartmouth show. We're going to be really close to a lot of the medical centers and buildings and hospitals in the Boston area. And so I hope to see a lot of people out. We're really excited about that. And that's it. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Knock, knock. Goodbye.
Thanks for watching the episode. You can find more on that playlist over there. If you prefer to listen, or you just had your eyes dilated, you can binge full episodes wherever you get your podcasts, or join the party over on Patreon, where you get early access episodes, hang out with us, get lots of exclusive bonus content. Hope you subscribe, leave a comment below. Let us know what you think.